taking the stock oil cooler off the engine because I'm going to run an aftermarket oil cooler eventually once this thing gets in. So I figured I'd get this out of the way. It's just a lot of stuff in the way. Plus I can modify my heater pipe because I don't need anything to come around this side of the engine because that's what this feeds. So I figured I'd show you how to take it off. First thing is take the sensor off. Get these wires tucked up out of the way. And first thing is I'm going to pull the oil pressure sensor off, because once that comes out, this bolt here is the one that runs all the way down into the block that lets this whole assembly come off. So we'll get this off, get that loose, and then I can get rid of the clamps on the coolant lines. I'll probably just end up cutting those off and out of the way because I'm not going to reuse them. I'm pretty sure they're stuck on there pretty well. So I broke that loose already. Set that aside, you don't want to lose that. Next will be the spring clamps. Just move those back. And if you're doing this on something you're going to save, you can use hose clamp pliers or hose pliers or something like that to get this off, but I'm just gonna, these things are super brittle anyway and old, so and my engine doesn't have any coolant in it. Probably hasn't had coolant in a very long time. So if you're doing this on an engine that's in your car, one you just took out, you're probably going to get a little bit out of here. Of course, that spring. And those two are off. Alright. Alright, I loosened the filter, but I'm just going to leave it on because I'm pretty sure there's some residual oil sitting in this thing. This is a 24 mil, and just for future reference earlier, the oil sending unit is 27 mil. Which the oil sending unit come off pretty well, but this one I'm just gonna hit it with the impact real quick. Well, let me put an extension on that. And hopefully there's no residual that's going to come out of this thing. I mean, she's been sitting for quite a while since I had it running last. And there's your bolt. And there it is. Oh, got a little bit running down there, but that shouldn't get too far. Yeah, that's how you take the oil cooler off. And now what you want to do from here is you need to order a sandwich plate, or if you're not going to use an aftermarket cooler or anything, you just want to remove that to put your oil filter directly on here, which will also give you a little bit of room. You need to order a stud for it, and I'm going to go double check. Pretty sure it's a 3/4 by 16 thread on that, which I was kind of surprised at that at first. I figured it would be metric, but maybe it was for ease of oil filters and things like that. So what I did was I grabbed a 3/4 by 16 nut, and I know that's what it is, and sure as shit, it's 3/4 by 16. So there's that. Now, after you've eliminated the cooler, if you see this line here, this one right there, that can be tied into this guy, because ultimately that you just loop these two together. So you could pull this one off and just take this one and maybe clock it and bend it into that one, and that will be fine. If you want to eliminate that line, stick around, and this is going to roll right into the kind of basic coolant flow and anything that needs to be plugged or what you need to use to have a heater core or get rid of the pipe on the side and any of that stuff. If anyone wants some JDM coolant, Toyota coolant, there it is. You can put that in a bottle for you if you want, but it's probably going to just get thrown in the garbage. So this is kind of going to be the second part of the video. So if you weren't here to find out how to take your oil cooler off, this is probably where you're going to land. This is just explaining coolant hoses on these engines. 1J VVTi, come out of a JZX 100 chaser. And I see a lot of threads still on boards, people asking for coolant lines. Not so much this guy, because everyone, it's pretty much a given. That's your feed into your radiator. And that's your feed from your radiator to the engine. So that's going to be your inlet from the radiator. That's going to be your outlet to the radiator. Now, the throttle body on mine's modified. But the stock throttle body, you can see that port right there. It has a coolant line for it. That coolant line, let me grab. That coolant line, if you can see it, is right there to the right. Damn it. You can see that guy right there coming out of the block. Now, if you're going to get rid of that, you plug that. Obviously, take the power steering pump off, get that out of the way. It'd be a lot easier to get to, but I've heard people, you can put a nipple over it with a clamp. Do it that way. You can grab it with a pair of pliers. Be real easy with your heat on the aluminum. You can pull it out, and then I've heard to tap it with a 3/8 pipe tap, and then just put a plug in it. Now that my oil cooler's off, you'll see this line right here that runs around back there. That runs to a hard pipe. That hard pipe runs all the way around the back side of the engine. Now, where that originates is right here. If you can see, there's a thread sticking out. Come on. There's a thread sticking out right there, and you see the pipe running back behind that. That is your line that comes out of the back right here. Now, what this line is for, this line will run into your cab of whatever vehicle it's in. That's a feed for your heater core. So if you're going to run heat, you can use that in. It'll come out, and when it comes out, it's going to tie into this guy here on the back of the head. So that is an outlet from your heater core. So when your heater core is done with it, the fluid will push through, and it'll go in there through the head and back up to the front. This line right here is the other side of the throttle body line that runs up to the front. So what I'm going to do is take this line off and probably cut and weld that back together. Tuck this a lot closer up here because I'm going to run heat in the truck. So, but it's just kind of wonky, sticks out there in the middle of nowhere. So I'll tidy it up, put it in there, and then this line right here just gets completely blocked off because that's the one that runs back up to the cooler. Come on out. It runs up, comes out of here, it goes back into here, which it goes back into the block. So there's a nipple on the block back there, and that's just, that can get plugged, and then that's pretty much it. So, questions on forums asking about that port on the back of the head and this guy. So that's your out, that's your in for a heater core. You can also, if you're going to keep that pipe and eliminate the cooler, you can plumb that one back into this guy right here. If not, you can just block them off and leave them. But yeah, it was relatively pretty short, so. So there's a better view of what I was talking about. That's your hard line coming in right there to the cooler, and that's the return to the block right there. So what you want to do is, if you don't want to eliminate that hard line back there, you just get a tube, get a rubber hose and connect that guy to that guy, and that's it. Once you've removed your stock oil cooler.